All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is John, and in this video, I'm going to be going over a few things regarding installing Windows Subsystem for Linux. And actually, this video is going to be the first part in a series of videos where I explain how to get that installed and how to make the most of it. And just it's more geared towards beginner developers who are just getting their feet wet with Linux. Maybe you've never tried Linux and you want to try it, but you don't really know how to maybe install it as a dual boot or into a virtual machine. And actually, this is a really convenient way to do it. I actually prefer doing it this way. If I'm using a Windows machine, I would prefer to just do this using the Windows Subsystem for Linux. Now, when I'm doing development work, I'm a web developer, so just like JavaScript and maybe Python and some libraries, and I prefer to actually work in standalone Linux. So I do have it installed in a dual boot, and I also have it on a laptop, and that's how I got started, was on a laptop. And I would suggest doing the same thing if you could swing it. But if you've got a decent machine running Windows, you should have no problem installing the Windows Subsystem for Linux, and this is actually a really great way to get started. And maybe if you're a newer developer, you've heard of Linux, you haven't really tried it, you don't know what all the hype is about, but really it's really great. It makes working in the command line so much easier, and as a developer, you're going to be using the command line a lot. You might be getting started and you might not really be familiar with the command line. You don't really know what a shell is. You don't really know too much about the terminal. And these things might seem scary, but they're actually not scary. They're actually very useful to you. And you've probably already used some of those tools. And maybe you don't even realize that it could be easier. And if you're using Linux, it's just so much easier, in my opinion. So I'm going to show you how to get started on the Windows Subsystem for Linux in this video, and so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so it's actually really easy to install it. I'm using Windows 10. Okay, this is really simple. So, alright, before we get started with anything, we have to go to Settings, and then we're going to go to Apps. Okay. Programs and Features, and you can also access this from Control Panel, and you have to go to Turn Windows Features On or Off. Okay, now it's going to pop up a little window here saying that we have to enter our admin PIN. Okay, so I think the screen recorder went blank there, so that's why. But yeah, we have to enter our admin PIN, and we go down here all the way to the bottom and we say Windows Subsystem for Linux. We have to make sure this is checked. Okay, if it's not checked, check it, and then hit OK. Alright. Okay. We're going to go to the Microsoft Store. Alright. And then all we have to do now is search Ubuntu. Okay, I'm going to use Ubuntu because this is a beginner-friendly operating system in the Linux ecosystem. This is a pretty good distribution. Some people like it, some people don't. I like it. I think it's pretty good. I actually use Fedora, and I would suggest trying Fedora. I don't know if Fedora exists on the Windows Subsystem for Linux, but I do know that Ubuntu does, and it's pretty good on WSL. So let's go ahead and just use Ubuntu. All right, and once you hit Get, you're basically done. You've already got it ready to go. Okay. So what is this thing actually? So let's open it up. All right. So we can see it's in here in our recently added. Click Ubuntu. Still installing right now. It just takes a couple minutes. It's actually pretty quick. So what is this thing? So this window popping up right here, this is going to be a terminal emulator. And terminal back in the day in the 70s and 80s, Actually, hold on, let's see. Right here, it wants us to create a user account. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my name. And then you need to enter a password. Pick something that is easy to remember, and you're going to be entering it all the time, so maybe it's easy to type. So yeah, anyway, a terminal, back in the day, the older computers, you would see the little tiny box with text on it. That's a terminal. So this is actually a terminal emulator. Back then, they didn't have a graphical user interface, so it was just a text interface, and you would issue commands directly to the computer. And the way you do that is you use a particular kind of a language, and they call these languages shell scripting languages, and they call this instance of this particular terminal emulator window, they would call that the shell environment. So each time you open a new window, it's a new environment. And so one window over here doesn't really have access to what's going on in this window over here. Now if you change some files over here, it will show up in this one over here, but that might be a little confusing. But if you ever hear someone talking about the shell, they're really just talking about the interpreter for whatever programming language they are using to interact with their computer within the terminal emulator. So the advantage of using a terminal emulator, which we can just say terminal for short, is that it's a text interface, so it's really fast. The computer can can execute commands really fast. You can issue commands directly to the computer, and the shell scripting languages can be a little bit tricky at times, but they're really well documented, and you can look them up if you ever have any issues. But so by default, this right here is using the bash language. Okay, so you might be familiar with bash, but bash is just a shell scripting language. And so by default, it's using bash. And what we can do is we can actually change this. Now, there's nothing wrong with bash. Bash is great, and you should be familiar with it. But I actually prefer using ZSH, because it basically provides a greater degree of flexibility. There are some really cool frameworks that exist within the ZSH community, and you can take advantage of those and do some really cool customization. So we're going to do some of that in just a little bit. But right now, this is actually Linux. So this is accessing a file system on our Windows machine that is going to allow us to use Linux commands, and it is actually a Linux file system. So now we can actually interact with our files via Linux. Now we can also, from here, we can also access our Windows files. So let me show you that. So just some basic commands here. ls for list, right? So we're in our home folder right now, and there's actually nothing. There are some hidden files, so if we want to see those, we do ls-a for all. It's going to show us we have some hidden files there. The files prefixed with dot, or the directories prefixed with dot, are hidden. Okay, so if we actually change directory cd, we use this dot operator. So we do // and here we are at home, and then now we say ls, and we can see John. That's the user that we created. Now we can go up one more. Now this is actually our root. Okay, we can't actually go up any higher than this. And you might be able to on, no you can't. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't let you go up any higher. Now we can actually access our Windows files though. So let's go, it's in the mount directory, this one right here. In this root directory, this is going to be a whole bunch of stuff pertaining to the operating system. You don't really want to be in here screwing around unless you know what you're doing. You might have some tutorials tell you to do something in here, and that's fine, but really, be careful in here, because there are a lot of things, and it's going to require you to enter your super user password anytime you're doing anything in here. So we're going to go to cd mount/c. This is going to be our C drive in our Windows machine. And now in here we can say ls Okay, and you see here's our Windows files. But we can go from here, we can get users, so cd users slash, I'm in this gitte user here, enter your, it'll be, for whatever reason, I don't know why Windows does this, but it just automatically made this username using an email address, and it was like, this is like the first few letters of my email. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go into this folder, and then I'm going to go to desktop. Okay, now if I say ls, you can see right here, this is my this is showing some of these folders that are on my private desktop. Okay, some of these files are from the public desktop because I'm actually on a secondary account here, and on my other account I have some private files on my private desktop, and on this account I have some private files like this one, this one. These are private files, and that's what we see right here. Okay, now these are public files, but if I go ahead and I make a copy of one of these files, paste it here, now I run this command again, ls, now you see this mouse profile that I just copied onto this private desktop. Okay, so this is just to show you that we can access all of our Windows files right here from our Linux subsystem, and the thing that's cool about that is now we can run Linux style scripts in a Linux style command line, but we're inside Windows, and we can perform those commands on our Windows files, which is super convenient. Okay, especially once you start to get a workflow of things that you like to do on Linux, and that's what I'm going to kind of show you in this series. We're going to I'm going to show you how to set up some nice scripts for yourself, and how to save those and push them up to GitHub, and then pull them down and use them anywhere you can use Linux. All right. So here's the thing. This this terminal emulator, I don't love it. This is just the default one that comes with this program, this WSL program, and I don't love it. I don't hate it. What we're going to do is let's go ahead and close this out, and let's pop over here and go to the Microsoft Store, do Windows Terminal, and we're going to do install. And this is actually a really nice terminal that Windows has added to their ecosystem. So let's go ahead and open this. All right. Now this is actually it's starting in Windows PowerShell. So let's check out Ubuntu. Okay. Now here we are. We're in our user, so we can go to desktop. Here we are. We're using the Linux commands, but we're in this Windows terminal. Now it might not look too different, but it does have a lot more customizability. We can go to this settings file, and here we can actually open the JSON file, and we can edit these commands manually, just like this. Now this is really nice. Well, so let's say one of the commands that I like to do is you can actually, you can customize some of these with this interface, and this is nice. But like I say, you can go to the JSON file, and we are going to do that in a minute. But for now, let's just say launch mode maximized and default profile Ubuntu. Okay, save these changes, close it out. Let's open it up again. Alright, so now it's going to default maximized, and here we are. Alright, now let's go back to the settings file. It's been updated. Okay, and see Windows automatically updated this for us, and it says default profile. See this? It ends right here in this F18 or 518. Okay, right here, 518. This is our Ubuntu distribution. within our subsystem for Linux. All right, there are a couple commands that I wanna put in here, a couple options, and one is starting directory, and you put it right here inside this profiles object, right here inside this Ubuntu object. Okay, and here, starting directory, we're gonna do, this is a little weird, //WSL/ actually WSL $ capital Ubuntu /home/John. Okay, now let's save. Let's reopen this program. All right, see, now here we are. We're at our Linux home now. All right. Now there's one more thing that I got to do, and that is there's this really annoying bell sound that drives me nuts. As soon as you hit tab or something, and then it makes this bell noise. So we're going to set the bell style to none. Okay, and if that annoys you, you might want to do this too. All right. So we save this, and now this is good. Okay, so now we've got our some basic customization of our Windows terminal, and now anytime we want to access this this Linux system, we have this nice terminal that we can open up here. Now this terminal is really nice because we can customize the font really easily using any fonts we have installed on Windows, and that's going to come in handy later. And yeah, it's really customizable. It's really easy to work with. And let's go ahead and I'm going to pin this to the taskbar. All right, guys. Before we really do anything, one thing that we have to do is update. So we want to update the package cache, and the way that we do that is we say sudo apt update. Alright, and the reason why we do this is a fresh install. So every time that, anytime that you're doing a fresh install especially, you want to run this command. And you want to, a lot of times you'll see it in instructions that you just do that before installing a package. And if you don't do that, sometimes you will get an error where it says the package does not exist. It's looking in the directory and the repository that holds all of the packages, and it can't find it. But once you update, usually that error will go away. So just make sure you run this command first. I actually went back and added this to the video because I realized I forgot to add it. So I've actually already run that command. That's why there's no real output here. When you run it at first, there's going to be a little bit more output. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to install Z-Shell. All right, now the next thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and install Z-Shell. All right, and the way that you do that is really easy. So in Ubuntu, there is a package management system called apt, and that's going to be the case for all Debian-based Linux distributions. So we're going to do, for installing most packages, so any package in the official apt package management system in the repository, we're going to do sudo, which stands for super user do. This is basically giving administrator privileges to this command. We're just going to say sudo apt-get, apt-get, okay, install zsh. Very easy. Now we enter our password because we did sudo. Okay. Y. We hit Y for yes. Hit enter. Okay. And now it's gonna do some magic, and then we're gonna have Z-Shell installed. Okay. Now if we execute Z-Shell, now it's gonna open up Z-Shell. let's say quit and do nothing for now. This is asking us, this is just reminding us that we don't have any config files yet, and that's totally fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and hit Q. Now we're actually in Z shell. We're in the same folder. You know, we've started a new shell environment, and we're using Z shell instead of bash. Okay, and you'll notice we don't have the ZSHRC. We have this bash RC file. Now the ZSHRC is the same, really, as the bash RC. It's just for Z shell, and we don't have that yet. So, all right, let's close this out, and let's reopen it. Now, you'll see we're in bash again. Okay. How do we make it to where Z shell is our default? Okay, that's easy. We say change shell CHSH -S. Then we're going to use this trick, okay, where we say let's actually there's a trick in Linux where if you do which, okay, this is a command. Say which, say ZSH, okay. I don't know why that didn't work. Hold on. There we go. Which ZSH. I see. I accidentally capitalized that. Okay, so now this is going to our binary file, our binary folder here, user/bin/ZSH. This is basically our ZSH executable binary, and that's just this which command. It tells us where that is. Okay, and we could copy this, or we could. There's this trick in Linux to where you do this, parentheses with a $sign, and now it's going to actually return that value. So we can say change shell -s, and then this, and then it's going to actually return this. Okay, so if we weren't sure where the binary was, we could just do this. Okay, so then we hit enter. Now we can execute Z shell. Okay, I'm going to quit and do nothing again. Alright, now let's actually open it up again. Now see, we're in Z shell by default. So it's still reminding us every time. It's going to remind us until we pick one of these options. So let's go ahead and create a ZSHRC file. So let's hit 0. Alright, now if we go to list -all, we can see there's a ZSHRC file that was automatically created for us just with a simple comment. Alright, let's go ahead and open that. Let's say nano, which is this is a Linux editor. It's a very simple editor that can be used from the command line. Alright, and there's actually nothing in this file, just a simple little comment. So let's actually create a variable. We're going to say export hello equals hello world. Now it's convention in bash, and so Z shell is very similar to bash. It's going to be almost the exact same, but it has some extra features that make it really useful. Okay, so but it's convention in bash to have your variables be capitalized. So I'm going to go ahead and enter this. Okay, and we're going to do Control X, hit Y for yes, and then hit enter. Okay, now we've saved that file, and if we try to echo that, we're still in the same shell environment. We haven't reloaded our new ZSHRC file, so this is not going to return anything. But if we reload our file, if we reload our environment, execute Z shell, echo hello world. All right, so we see right here that this returned our variable. And sorry, I got distracted there. The dog was barking. All right, now let's see here. Now what what we want to do is we're going to actually tweak this quite a bit. So we're going to install this framework called Oh-my-zsh. Now, some people like it, some people don't. I actually really like it. I think it's great because it allows you to really easily customize your Z shell and make it really fresh. So we're going to do that later, but for now, let's just go ahead and get that installed. So what you want to do is you want to search Oh-my-zsh right here. Okay. Okay. Now here in this shell here, if we right click, it's going to automatically paste. So I just copied this command, right? And we're going to paste it and then hit enter. Okay. So now it's restarted our shell environment and we're actually using this new framework. Okay. So it's in this folder here, .oh-my-zsh. Okay. We can customize that later, but for now, let's open up our zshrc file. Let's go nano.zshrc. All right. So now see this has added a lot of stuff for us here. Okay. Now this is all very well documented. If you look this up, you're going to find all kinds of stuff. Okay, and by default, this is one of the key parts right here, plugins. So it had Git, right? Now we can add more plugins, and we will. I like it to be formatted like this myself, because now we can add them like an array like this. So let's go ahead and add. Let's actually see what we've got. So let's go to cd.oh-my. Now we can hit tab for autocomplete. See, Bash actually has tabbed autocompletion, but it's very limited. The autocompletion in Z shell is much better. So now if we hit tab again, it's going to give us this option of all of our folders that we have to choose from, and Bash does not do that, not by default. So now we can go to custom, or actually go to plugins, and we'll hit enter, and then hit tab again. Do we want to see all 304 possibilities? No, let's not do that. Let's just go ahead and list them. Okay. So see, all of these folders are different plugins that we can add. So let's maybe add the npm. It doesn't really matter right now. We're going to add more later. But let's just add the npm, right? So npm. Okay. Now let's do Control X, Y, enter. Now we'll reload this terminal. Now actually let's look up the git zsh cheat sheet. Okay. This right here is what we want. See, these are basically aliases. That's what this plugin is. It's just a bunch of aliases for common git commands. So if we want to do git add, you can just say GA. If you want to do git commit -v, you can just say GC. All right. So if you use Git, which you probably do, this might be useful. GLG, git log. Okay. This can be really useful. So that's why they put that in as default, because they kind of assume people are going to want to use this one. So I use these all the time. They're really, really convenient, in my opinion. So let's see. Let's find something that has a Git folder. So something else that we can do in Z shell is you can actually skip typing cd. You don't have to do change directory. You can just say. So you can say .oh and then hit tab, and then let's go to plugins. Okay. I'm not sure. One of these might have a Git. So yeah, right now we're in a Git repository. Okay, so if we say gst, right? So this is Git status, right? And if we say glg, it's going to git log, right? So these shortcut commands can be quite convenient. Okay, so now let me show you something else. Tilde is that is a shortcut to get back to our home directory. So here we are, we're in a home, ls-a, right? So we want to go to Oh-my-zsh slash plugins slash, let's say, Git. We want to go to the Git plugin. Well, let's actually, let me go to the torrent plugin because it'll work. It'll be better to demonstrate the recursive nature. So let's say we want to go to a particular folder. So we say .oh/pl/to. Now we hit tab, and it automatically knows the only one that matched that pattern is this one. So it automatically filled out our completion there on our command. So that's another really nice feature of ZSH. But the really nice thing is using a framework like this, we get all of these plugins out of the box, like all of these plugins that we saw before. So we go up one directory, right? And all these hundreds of plugins we get out of the box. All right, so I think this about does it for this video, guys. I just wanted to show you really quick how to go ahead and get this set up. If you want to use the Windows Subsystem for Linux, you want to start using some Linux commands with your Windows file system, or you just want to get your feet wet with Linux. This is a really great way to do it. In the upcoming videos, I'm going to discuss how we're going to tweak this further. So we're going to make our terminal look a lot cooler. We're going to add some custom plugins and scripts to our ZSHRC file, and then eventually I'll show you how to compartmentalize that to where you can then use it on any remote machine, or just any machine really in general. Any machine where you're running Linux, any command line that you're running Linux, any terminal emulator, you can then pull down your settings, and then you're going to basically be able to have all of your custom scripts. Once you get it how you like it, you can use it everywhere. And that is really one of the key advantages. Okay, so that about does it. I really appreciate anyone watching this, and if you did, go ahead, let me know what you think. Drop a comment, hit the like button. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch my video, and I am new to this, so go easy on me. Anyway, have a nice day, and much love everybody, and have a nice day. Thank you.